countries and maintain a high level of organization within their city-states. The Sumerians were a highly innovative civilization that made numerous contributions to human progress. Their most significant achievement was the development of cuneiform, one of the earliest forms of writing. Cuneiform allowed the Sumerians to record a wide range of information, from administrative records and legal codes to literature and personal correspondence. This system of writing laid the foundation for the preservation and transmission of knowledge, which is essential for any advanced civilization. In the field of mathematics, the Sumerians made several groundbreaking contributions. They developed a base 60 number system, which is still used today for measuring time and angles. This system allowed the Sumerians to perform complex calculations, which were crucial for their advancements in agriculture, engineering, and astronomy. They also invented geometry, enabling them to plan and construct elaborate architectural structures. The base 60 number system, also known as the sexagesimal system, was developed by the ancient Sumerians around 2000 BCE. It is a positional numeral system that uses a base of 60, as opposed to the base 10 decimal system that we use today. This means that in the base 60 system, there are 60 unique digits, from 0 to 59, used to represent numbers, and each place value in a numeral is a power of 60. The exact reasons behind the development of the base 60 system are not entirely clear, but it is believed that the Sumerians chose this base due to its divisibility by several smaller numbers. The number 60 is divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, and 60. One of the most significant applications of the base 60 system in ancient Sumerian society was in the field of astronomy. The Sumerians used the sexagesimal system to measure time, dividing the day into 24 hours, each hour into 60 minutes, and each minute into 60 seconds. This division is still used today in our modern timekeeping system. The base 60 system was also used in geometry and the measurement of angles. The circle was divided into 360 degrees, a multiple of 60, and each degree was further subdivided into 60 minutes, and each minute into 60 seconds. This division of angles is still used today in fields such as navigation and cartography. The ancient Babylonians, who succeeded the Sumerians, also used the base 60 system for their calculations. They developed a more sophisticated sexagesimal positional system, which included a placeholder symbol to represent an empty position. This innovation made their numeral system more efficient and easier to use for complex calculations. The ancient Sumerians and Babylonians, despite existing in different periods of time, both utilized the base 60 number system. This shared mathematical framework can be attributed to the cultural and intellectual continuity that persisted in the Mesopotamian region throughout its history. The Babylonians, who rose to prominence around 1900 BCE, succeeded the Sumerians as the dominant civilization in Mesopotamia. They adopted many aspects of Sumerian culture, including their language, which was used as a scholarly and liturgical language, religious beliefs, artistic styles, and most importantly, their mathematical knowledge. By inheriting the base 60 number system from the Sumerians, the Babylonians were able to build upon and refine this mathematical framework. The Babylonians made several improvements to the sexagesimal system, such as the introduction of a placeholder symbol, akin to the modern concept of zero, which allowed them to represent empty positions in their numerals. This innovation made the base 60 system more efficient and easier to use for complex calculations, leading to advancements in fields like astronomy, engineering, and geometry. The base 60 system continued to be used throughout the ancient world and had a lasting impact on the development of mathematics and science. Although our modern number system is primarily based on the decimal system, remnants of the sexagesimal system can still be found in various aspects of our daily lives, such as timekeeping and the measurement of angles. Sumerian astronomers made significant strides in understanding the cosmos. They developed a lunar calendar that divided the year into 12 months, based on the cycles of the moon. They observed the movements of the planets and stars, creating the first known star catalogues and accurately predicting celestial events such as eclipses. Their astronomical observations also influenced their religious beliefs and practices, as they ascribed divine significance to various celestial bodies. In the realm of law and government, the Sumerians laid the groundwork for modern legal systems and centralized administration. They established a complex hierarchy of officials and bureaucrats responsible for overseeing various aspects of daily life, such as trade, agriculture, and public works. The Sumerians were among the first to implement a legal code, with the Code of Onamu being one of the earliest examples. This code covered a wide range of topics, including property rights, trade regulations, and criminal punishments, demonstrating the complexity of Sumerian society. The Sumerians also made considerable advancements in engineering and technology. They are credited with inventing the wheel, the plow, the sailboat, and even the concept of the arch, which revolutionized construction and transportation. These innovations enabled them to build monumental structures, such as the ziggurats, and facilitated the growth of trade networks, both within Mesopotamia and beyond. In agriculture, the Sumerians developed sophisticated irrigation techniques that allowed them to harness the water resources of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. They constructed canals, levees, and dams, enabling them to divert water to their fields and create a surplus of food. This agricultural surplus supported a growing population and allowed for the development of specialized occupations such as craftsmen, merchants, and priests. The Sumerians were also skilled artisans, creating exquisite works of art in various forms, including sculpture, pottery, and jewelry. They used a variety of materials such as clay, stone, and precious metals to create stunning pieces that showcased their craftsmanship and attention to detail. Sumerian art often depicted scenes from their religious beliefs, daily life, and mythological stories, providing insight.
Kind of wish the video matched the text. You know what I mean? Like, this is not Sumerian art.
We are reminded of the astounding achievements and pioneering spirit of the ancient Mesopotamians, particularly the Sumerians. Their unparalleled innovations, such as the base 60 number system, have left an indelible mark on the tapestry of human history. Through their ingenuity and resilience, these ancient trailblazers forged a path that would shape the course of countless civilizations to come. In rediscovering the wonders of the Sumerians and their Mesopotamian counterparts, we gain a deeper appreciation for the remarkable tapestry of human achievement. Today, let's travel back in time all the way to ancient Mesopotamia, to the cradle of civilization. Imagine a world where gods walked among mortals, where epic heroes battled fearsome beasts, and where the quest for immortality was not just a philosophical question, but a literal journey. Welcome to the world of Gilgamesh, a legendary figure whose epic story is one of the earliest and most profound narratives in human history. Are you ready to embark on this epic adventure? Now, the Epic of Gilgamesh isn't a singular, cohesive book like we might imagine today. Instead, it's a collection of stories and poems that evolved and changed over time, eventually forming the epic we know today. These tales were inscribed on a series of 12 clay tablets in the Akkadian language, with the most complete version dating to the 7th century BCE from the library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh. Gilgamesh is a fascinating character. Legend has it he was the king of Uruk, a Sumerian city-state located in modern-day Iraq. Now, Uruk was a big deal back in the day. We're talking about one of the world's first major cities, the origin of writing, and a hub of culture and trade in ancient Mesopotamia. But let's get back to Gilgamesh. He was described as being 2/3 god and 1/3 human. This unique lineage gave him superhuman strength and wisdom, making him a formidable leader. However, his divine status didn't shield him from human struggles. In fact, much of the epic revolves around Gilgamesh wrestling with the concept of mortality and the limitations of human existence. Interestingly, even though he was a demigod, Gilgamesh was not a perfect ruler. Ancient texts describe him as a tyrant who imposed his will on his subjects. In fact, his behavior was so oppressive that the gods created Enkidu, a wild man, to challenge him and divert his attention from his subjects. Little did the gods know this decision would change the course of Gilgamesh's life in ways they could not predict. The Epic of Gilgamesh is not just a tale of adventure. It's a journey into the human condition, exploring themes of friendship, grief, the pursuit of immortality, and the acceptance of our mortal nature. Its narrative is grand and its implications profound, offering a window into the human soul and the complexities of life. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is one of the most compelling aspects of the epic. Remember, Enkidu was created by the gods as a kind of counterbalance to Gilgamesh's tyrannical rule. Originally, Enkidu lived among the animals in the wilderness, uncorrupted by civilization. However, after a series of events, he was introduced to human society and eventually found his way to Uruk, where he challenged Gilgamesh to a wrestling match. This moment marked a turning point in Gilgamesh's life. The match was fierce, and although Gilgamesh won, he recognized in Enkidu a worthy friend and companion. This was the start of an extraordinary friendship, one that changed Gilgamesh and ultimately shaped his destiny. Together, Gilgamesh and Enkidu embarked on a series of heroic adventures, from slaying the monstrous Humbaba who guarded the cedar forest to killing the Bull of Heaven sent by the goddess Ishtar as a punishment for rejecting her advances. These exploits showcased their courage, strength, and companionship, solidifying their friendship. However, the epic also delves into the profound emotional transformation of Gilgamesh through his relationship with Enkidu. Gilgamesh, who was once an arrogant and self-centered king, began to exhibit empathy, humility, and wisdom. This transition is most apparent when Enkidu falls ill and dies as a consequence of their adventures. Enkidu's death sent Gilgamesh into a profound grief and fear of his own mortality. He set out on a quest to find the secret of immortality, a journey that would lead him to the depths of despair and the heights of enlightenment. Through their friendship, Enkidu not only humanized Gilgamesh, but also gave him the impetus to embark on the most significant journey of his life. The friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is a testament to the transformative power of companionship, a theme that still resonates with us today. Enkidu's death was a turning point for Gilgamesh, sparking a fear of his own mortality. This fear was so overwhelming that it led him on an epic journey to discover the secret of eternal life. Now, this wasn't a simple journey. This was a quest that took Gilgamesh to the ends of the earth, confronting monsters, gods, and the depths of his own despair. One of the most memorable parts of this journey is Gilgamesh's encounter with a man who was granted eternal life by the gods. He is often compared to Noah from the Bible, due to the similarities in their stories. Both were warned of a great flood by a god and built a boat to save themselves, their families, and all kinds of animals. Gilgamesh hoped to learn the secret of immortality. However, they informed him that immortality was not meant for humans. He told Gilgamesh a story about a plant that could restore youth, but even after Gilgamesh retrieved it, the plant was stolen by a serpent while he bathed, symbolizing the futility of his quest. Despite his failures, Gilgamesh's search for immortality is an exploration of a universal human fear and desire, the fear of death and the longing for eternal life. His journey reflects our own struggles with mortality and the realization that death is an inevitable part of life. It's a humbling reminder of our human condition and the impermanence of our existence. Gilgamesh's journey eventually led him back to Uruk, where he found a different kind of immortality. Not through divine intervention or magical plants, but through his deeds, his city, and the stories that would be told about him for thousands of years to come. This, perhaps, is the true message of the Epic of Gilgamesh, that our actions, our contributions, and the memories we leave behind are our true immortality. The Epic of Gilgamesh is much more than an adventure story. It's a profound exploration of themes that continue to resonate with us today. The power of friendship, the quest for immortality, the confrontation with mortality, and the human desire to leave a lasting legacy. The friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is central to the narrative, reflecting the power of human connection to shape our lives. Their bond changes Gilgamesh from an arrogant ruler to a compassionate leader, demonstrating how relationships can lead to personal growth and transformation. The theme of mortality is equally prominent. From Enkidu's death to Gilgamesh's quest for immortality, the epic confronts the inevitability of death. It grapples with the human fear of oblivion, our longing for eternal life, and ultimately our acceptance of our mortal condition. The Epic of Gilgamesh also explores the desire to leave a lasting legacy. For Gilgamesh, this comes not in the form of immortality, but through his deeds in the city he built. It's a powerful reminder that our actions, our contributions, and the memories we leave behind are our true legacy. The influence of the Epic of Gilgamesh extends far beyond its time. As one of the oldest known works of literature, it has shaped countless narratives and myths that followed. Its themes have found echoes in biblical stories, Greek mythology, and modern literature. It has inspired operas, novels, and films. Its exploration of friendship, mortality, and legacy continues to resonate with us. While Gilgamesh is often described as a mythical hero, he may have been a real person. Some historians believe that Gilgamesh was a historical king of the city of Uruk, who later became a figure of myth and legend. Records from other ancient civilizations mention a king named Gilgamesh, and archaeological evidence suggests that Uruk was an important city in ancient Mesopotamia. In the epic, Gilgamesh is described as being 2/3 god and 1/3 human. His mother was a goddess, and his father was a mortal king. This divine heritage gives Gilgamesh superhuman strength and physical beauty, but it also sets him apart from other people and leaves him unsatisfied with his mortal life. The epic of Gilgamesh is essentially a journey of self-discovery. After the death of his friend Enkidu, Gilgamesh embarks on a quest to find the secret of immortality. He travels to the ends of the earth, battles supernatural creatures, and even ventures into the underworld. Although he fails to achieve physical immortality, he gains wisdom and understanding about life, death, and the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. One of the most famous parts of the epic of Gilgamesh is the story of the Great Flood, which predates the biblical story of Noah's Ark by hundreds of years. In the epic, Gilgamesh meets Utnapishtim, a man who was granted immortality by the gods after he and his wife survived a great flood that wiped out the rest of humanity. This story has led some to speculate about possible connections between the two flood narratives. The epic of Gilgamesh has had a lasting impact on literature and culture. Its themes of friendship, the quest for immortality, and the struggle with mortality are still relevant today. The epic has inspired countless other works of literature and has been translated into many languages. It continues to be studied and admired for its rich symbolism, complex characters, and exploration of universal human experiences. Early in the epic, Gilgamesh is portrayed as a tyrant. His strength and vigor lead him to oppress the people of Uruk. He sets young men to endless labor, competes with them in sports to the point of exhaustion, and disrupts families. This behavior sets the stage for the creation of Enkidu, initially a wild man, who is civilized and becomes a match for Gilgamesh, serving both as a friend and a balance to his excessive energy. Dreams and their interpretations play a crucial role in the epic of Gilgamesh. For instance, before meeting Enkidu, Gilgamesh has prophetic dreams that are interpreted by his mother. Later, during their journey to the cedar forest to confront the demon Humbaba, both Gilgamesh and Enkidu experience ominous dreams. These dream sequences highlight the significance of divine intervention and fate in the characters' lives. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the earliest known examples of literature. It's written in a poetic form known as epic poetry and is composed of Sumerian verses. The influence of the Epic of Gilgamesh on subsequent literary traditions, especially the Homeric epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, has been noted by many scholars. The theme of a hero's journey, friendship, and quest for immortality are motifs that continue in many forms of literary tradition. For centuries, the Epic of Gilgamesh was forgotten until archaeological excavations in the mid-19th century unearthed the ancient city of Nineveh, including the library of Assyrian king Ashurbanipal. Among the thousands of clay tablets, scholars found the Epic of Gilgamesh. It took decades to decipher, translate, and understand the epic, and it wasn't until the late 20th century that a relatively complete and accurate version of the story was available to the public. The rediscovery of this ancient epic has provided invaluable insights into ancient Mesopotamian culture and literature. And there you have it, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale of friendship, a quest for immortality, a confrontation with the inevitable reality of death, and the human desire to leave a lasting legacy. It's a story that has shaped our collective imagination for millennia, and its themes continue to resonate in our own lives. So, next time you ponder your legacy, your mortality, or the power of your relationships, remember the tale of Gilgamesh and his epic journey. It's a testament to the enduring power of stories and the timeless nature of the human condition. The Anunnaki are a group of deities in ancient Mesopotamian mythology.
This is fun now, dudes. This new strat, I love this strat.
Assyrian
It's fun.
and Babylonian pantheons.
It's fun again.
The connection between the Anunnaki and the Akkadians is primarily through the Akkadians' adoption and adaptation of Sumerian religious beliefs and mythology. When the Akkadians conquered and assimilated the Sumerians, they inherited many aspects of Sumerian culture, including their religious beliefs and practices. This included the worship of the Anunnaki, who were believed to be a group of powerful gods and goddesses responsible for various aspects of life, such as fertility, agriculture, and justice. The Anunnaki played a significant role in the religious life of the Akkadians, as they did for the Sumerians before them. They were often invoked in prayers, rituals, and religious texts, and their stories were passed down through generations in the form of myths and legends. Welcome to Life's Biggest Questions. Let's continue and learn more about the Akkadian and Anunnaki connection. Some of the most prominent Anunnaki in the Akkadian pantheon included Anu, the supreme god of the sky and the head of the Anunnaki pantheon. Enlil, the god of wind, storms, and the air, associated with power and authority. Enki, known as Ea in Akkadian, the god of water, wisdom, and creation, who was believed to have played a significant role in the creation of humanity. Inanna, known as Ishtar in Akkadian, the goddess of love, fertility, and war, who was a central figure in many myths and legends. It is important to note that while the concept of the Anunnaki is rooted in ancient Mesopotamian mythology, there is no historical or archaeological evidence to support the idea that they were extraterrestrial beings or had any direct influence on human civilization. This notion is a modern interpretation and speculation that has become popular in some alternative history circles. The Akkadian Empire's rise to power was a testament to its ability to bring together diverse cultures and political entities under a single centralized authority. Sargon of Akkad's unification of the Sumerian city-states was a transformative event, shaping the political landscape of Mesopotamia for centuries to come. Sargon was able to achieve this remarkable feat through a combination of military skill, diplomacy, and strategic planning. One of the key factors in the success of the Akkadian Empire was its capacity to adapt and assimilate the cultural and technological achievements of the Sumerian city-states it conquered. This enabled the empire to maintain a cohesive identity, even as it expanded its territories and incorporated new cultures and peoples. For example, the Akkadians adopted the Sumerian system of cuneiform writing, using it to record their own language and administrative records. This not only facilitated communication and administration within the empire, but also allowed for the preservation and continuation of Sumerian literary and scholarly traditions. Sargon of Akkad's military campaigns were marked by a combination of brute force and strategic diplomacy. He recognized the importance of securing the loyalty of the conquered city-states, and in many cases he allowed local rulers to maintain their positions, provided they swore allegiance to him and paid tribute to the empire. This approach helped to ensure the stability of the empire, as it mitigated the risk of rebellion and fostered a sense of continuity for the conquered peoples. The rise of the Akkadian Empire also had far-reaching economic implications. As the empire grew, it facilitated the expansion of trade networks throughout the region, connecting the resource-rich regions of Mesopotamia with the wider Near East. This led to increased prosperity and economic development, as the empire became a major hub for the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. Furthermore, the Akkadian Empire's military successes and territorial expansions led to the establishment of a vast and complex administrative system, which was crucial to maintaining control over its diverse and far-reaching territories. Sargon and his successors appointed governors to oversee the various regions of the empire, ensuring that local affairs were managed efficiently and that tribute was collected and distributed as needed. This system of governance laid the groundwork for subsequent empires in the region, such as the Babylonian and Assyrian empires, which built upon and refined the administrative structures put in place by the Akkadians. The rise of the Akkadian Empire was a multifaceted process, driven by Sargon of Akkad's ambitious vision, military skill, and diplomatic acumen. The empire's success was also rooted in its ability to assimilate and adapt the cultural and technological achievements of the Sumerian city-states, fostering a sense of unity and shared identity among its diverse subjects.
What?
The Akkadian Empire's innovations and achievements were essential in maintaining and expanding its influence, and they left a lasting impact on the region and beyond. The empire's accomplishments in various fields, including language, art, architecture, science, and administration, are a testament to its capacity for creativity and adaptation.
Too dumb, guys.
One of the most significant innovations of the Akkadian Empire was the development and widespread use of the Akkadian language. Building on the cuneiform writing system invented by the Sumerians,
I don't know if that was a slow reaction or that might have been the thigh shot, not the lower leg shot.
This facilitated communication and administration across the empire, which encompassed diverse linguistic and cultural groups. Moreover, the Akkadian language became the lingua franca of the ancient Near East, playing a critical role in diplomacy and trade for centuries.
Pretty good attempt, though.
In the realm of literature, the Akkadians made significant contributions to the rich Mesopotamian literary tradition.
Full health, like, that'd be so
Among their most notable works is the Epic of Gilgamesh,
obviously I would have
a
gone
foundational
boosted at
text
least
of world
twice to the
literature that
guard
explores
there,
themes of heroism, friendship, and the search for immortality. The Empire's extensive use of written records also allowed for the preservation and transmission of Sumerian literary works, ensuring that these earlier texts were not lost to history. Akkadian art and architecture showcased the Empire's sophistication and cultural dynamism. Akkadian artists developed a unique style, characterized by a heightened sense of realism, detail, and emotional expression. The bronze head of Sargon of Akkad, for instance, is a prime example of this style, displaying an extraordinary level of craftsmanship and artistic innovation. Similarly, the victory stele of Naram Sin, which commemorates the king's military triumphs, demonstrates the development of a more naturalistic approach to depicting the human form and a keen attention to narrative. Akkadian architecture was also marked by its grandeur and ingenuity. The empire's rulers constructed monumental buildings, such as palaces and temples, to display their power and authority. Advances in engineering and construction techniques, such as the use of mud bricks and the development of the arch and the vault, enabled the creation of large and durable structures, many of which have left a lasting impression on the archaeological landscape of Mesopotamia. The Akkadians built on the scientific and mathematical achievements of the Sumerians, making significant strides in various fields. In astronomy, they developed the first known star catalogue, which allowed them to track celestial bodies and predict their movements. This knowledge was essential for various aspects of daily life, including agriculture, navigation, and religious observances. In mathematics, the Akkadians made important advances in the areas of geometry and arithmetic. They developed a sophisticated system of metrology, enabling them to measure and calculate land areas, volumes, and distances with remarkable precision. Their mathematical achievements laid the groundwork for subsequent Mesopotamian civilizations and contributed to the broader development of mathematics in the ancient world. The innovations and achievements of the Akkadian Empire played a crucial role in its rise to power and its lasting influence on the region. The empire's cultural, artistic, and intellectual contributions not only helped to consolidate its authority, but also shaped the development of subsequent civilizations in Mesopotamia and the wider Near East. The decline of the Akkadian Empire can be attributed to a combination of factors, including internal strife, external threats, and environmental challenges. Despite its remarkable achievements and lasting impact on the region, the empire ultimately succumbed to the pressures that it faced, giving way to a new era in Mesopotamian history. One significant factor in the decline of the Akkadian Empire was internal strife and instability. As the empire expanded, it became increasingly challenging to maintain centralized control over its diverse territories and populations. The vast expanse of the empire, coupled with the difficulties of communication and transportation, made it difficult for the central government to enforce its authority and maintain order. Moreover, the empire's later rulers struggled to maintain the same level of leadership and vision as Sargon of Akkad and his immediate successors. This led to a weakening of the central authority, as various regions sought greater autonomy or even outright independence. Revolts and uprisings became more frequent, further undermining the stability and cohesion of the empire. In addition to internal strife, the Akkadian Empire faced mounting pressure from external threats. The empire's rapid expansion had brought it into contact with numerous neighboring powers, some of which began to challenge its dominance. The most significant of these threats came from the Guti, a mountain tribe from the Zagros Mountains to the east of the empire. The Guti conducted a series of devastating raids and invasions which weakened the empire's military and economic strength. The decline of the Akkadian Empire also coincided with the rise of other regional powers, such as the Elamites in southwestern Iran and the Amorites in Syria. These groups sought to capitalize on the empire's weakened state, further contributing to its fragmentation and eventual collapse. Recent archaeological and environmental research suggests that the decline of the Akkadian Empire may have been exacerbated by a severe drought that affected the region during its final years. This drought, which lasted for several decades, led to widespread crop failures, reduced agricultural productivity, and increased competition for resources. The resulting food shortages and economic instability would have further strained the empire's ability to maintain order and control over its territories. The decline of the Akkadian Empire marked the end of an era in Mesopotamian history, but its legacy would continue to shape the region's political, cultural, and intellectual landscape for centuries to come. The empire's innovations in language, art, science, and administration laid the groundwork for the later civilizations of the Near East, including the Babylonians, Assyrians, and Persians, who adopted and built upon many of the Akkadians' accomplishments. Moreover, the Akkadian Empire's rise and fall serve as a powerful reminder of the complex interplay of factors that can determine the fate of a civilization. Its story highlights the importance of strong leadership, cultural adaptation, and the ability to overcome internal and external challenges in the pursuit of greatness. The story of the Akkadian Empire's rediscovery and its enduring significance in the modern world is a fascinating tale of archaeological intrigue and scholarly perseverance. Since the first excavations in the 19th century, the empire's cultural, artistic, and intellectual achievements have continued to captivate the imaginations of researchers and the general public alike. The rediscovery of the Akkadian Empire began in the mid-19th century when archaeologists, primarily from Europe, started excavating ancient Mesopotamian sites in search of evidence of the world's earliest civilizations. Early excavations at sites like Nineveh, Nimrud, and Babylon brought to light a wealth of artifacts and inscriptions that revealed the existence of a previously unknown ancient empire. Over the following decades, additional excavations at sites like Nippur, Tel Brak, and Tel Leilan uncovered further evidence of the Akkadian Empire's rich history and cultural legacy. One of the most significant discoveries in the study of the Akkadian Empire was the unearthing of the royal archives of Ebla, an ancient city in present-day Syria. These archives contain thousands of clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform texts, which provided invaluable insights into the empire's political, economic, and social life. The Ebla archives also shed light on the complex relationships between the Akkadian Empire and its neighbors, revealing a network of alliances, rivalries, and trade connections that extended throughout the ancient Near East. The rediscovery of the Akkadian Empire has had a profound impact on our understanding of the history of the ancient Near East and the broader development of human civilization. The empire's innovations in language, art, science, and administration provided crucial insights into the processes of state formation, cultural exchange, and technological progress that shaped the region's trajectory. The study of the Akkadian Empire has also contributed to broader debates within the fields of archaeology, anthropology, and history. For example, the empire's rise and fall have informed theories of social complexity, state collapse, and environmental change, offering valuable case studies for scholars seeking to understand the factors that drive the emergence and disintegration of complex societies. Additionally, the Akkadian Empire's rediscovery has played a key role in the development of modern Assyriology, the academic discipline dedicated to the study of ancient Mesopotamian languages, history, and culture. The decipherment of the Akkadian language in particular has opened up new avenues of research, allowing scholars to access a wealth of previously inaccessible textual sources and providing a more nuanced understanding of the region's past. Today, we embark on a journey to uncover the rich history and cultural connections between the Hurrians and Hittites, two influential civilizations that left their mark on the ancient Near East. We'll also investigate their potential ties to the Anunnaki, a group of deities from Mesopotamian mythology whose influence is said to have spanned across numerous ancient cultures. Let's begin by delving deeper into the origins and characteristics of the Hurrians and Hittites. Welcome to life's biggest questions. Let's continue now, shall we? The Hurrians were a prominent civilization that emerged around 2300 BCE and inhabited areas of present-day Syria, Turkey, and Iraq. Their influence peaked during the second millennium BCE, and they left a lasting impact on the region with their unique language, monumental architecture, captivating art, and religious
This is so dumb. I got boosted by so many
various city-states and kingdoms, with the kingdom of Mitanni being the most powerful Hurrian state, reaching its zenith between 1500 and 1300 BCE. The Hittites, in contrast, were an Indo-European people who established a formidable empire in what is now Turkey and northern Syria. Their civilization thrived during the second millennium BCE, and they were renowned for their military prowess, advanced legal system, and the impressive capital city of Hattusa. The Hittite Empire reached its peak under the rule of Sophiluliuma and his son Mursili II, successfully challenging the supremacy of other major powers such as Egypt and Babylon in the region. The Hurrians and Hittites interacted with each other and surrounding civilizations, exchanging goods, ideas, and even occasionally clashing in conflicts. Despite their differing origins, these two civilizations shared some cultural traits, religious practices, and mythological elements, which has sparked the curiosity of historians and researchers seeking to understand their potential connections with the Anunnaki. As we explore the Hurrians and Hittites, one aspect that stands out is their shared pantheon of gods and goddesses, along with overlapping mythological narratives. This common ground has prompted scholars to examine potential connections between these two ancient cultures and the Anunnaki, who were central figures in Mesopotamian mythology. The Anunnaki were considered a group of gods and goddesses descended from the sky god Anu and his consort Kai. They played a significant role in shaping human civilization by bestowing knowledge and technology upon humanity. Many of the deities worshipped by the Hurrians and Hittites shared resemblances and functions with the Anunnaki, which has fueled theories about cultural exchanges between these civilizations and their possible shared origins. One notable example is the Hurrian storm god Teshub, who bears similarities to the Mesopotamian storm god Adad or Hadad, an Anunnaki deity. In Hittite mythology, the storm god Tarhunt or Tarhuna also shares similar traits with the Mesopotamian Adad. These parallels suggest that the religious beliefs and mythologies of these cultures may have influenced one another, and that the Anunnaki's presence could have extended to the Hurrians and Hittites. The Hurrians, in particular, adopted and adapted many Sumerian myths into their own religious canon. One such example is the myth of Kamabi, a Hurrian adaptation of the Sumerian tale of Enlil and Ninlil, which describes a succession of divine rulers. The Hittites, who had a history of assimilating the gods and goddesses of conquered peoples into their pantheon, also absorbed Hurrian deities and myths. Another intriguing aspect of these shared mythologies is the presence of divine beings that descended from the heavens to interact with humans. In both Hurrian and Hittite myths, gods and goddesses often intervened in human affairs, guiding the course of history and shaping the destinies of kings and nations. This theme of divine interaction mirrors the role of the Anunnaki in Mesopotamian mythology, where they were said to have had a direct hand in shaping human civilization. These religious similarities and shared mythological elements between the Hurrians, Hittites, and the Anunnaki provide fascinating insight into the complex web of cultural exchange and interaction that characterized the ancient Near East. The blending and adaptation of myths and religious practices between these cultures raise intriguing questions about the possible connections between them and the wider influence of the Anunnaki. As we delve deeper into the shared mythologies and cultural practices of the Hurrians and Hittites, we also encounter compelling evidence that suggests a significant influence of the Anunnaki on various aspects of their societies. This includes their legal systems, architectural styles, religious practices, and more. Let's explore some of these areas in more detail. In terms of legal systems, the Hittite Code of Laws shares many similarities with the famous laws of Hammurabi, the Babylonian king who was said to have received his laws directly from the Anunnaki god Marduk. For instance, both legal systems contain a similar structure, with a prologue, a list of specific laws, and an epilogue. They also feature comparable regulations on property rights, contracts, and punishments for various crimes. This resemblance hints at the possibility of an Anunnaki influence on the development of legal systems in both Hurrian and Hittite societies. Architecturally, both the Hurrians and Hittites constructed monumental structures, such as temples, palaces, and fortified cities. using advanced engineering techniques that may have been inspired by the Anunnaki. For example, the Hittite capital of Hattusa featured massive fortifications, including walls, gates and watchtowers, as well as elaborate drainage systems. These architectural achievements suggest a level of technical skill and knowledge that some argue could have been passed down by the Anunnaki. In terms of religious practices, the concept of divine kingship, which was central to both Hurrian and Hittite societies, echoes the role of the Anunnaki gods as rulers of the earth. Kings in both cultures were considered to be divinely chosen and were often associated with particular gods or goddesses. This close relationship between rulers and deities may have served as a means of legitimizing their authority and reinforcing their power.
What happened there?
A practice that parallels the role of the Anunnaki in Mesopotamian mythology. The influence of the Anunnaki can also be seen in the importance of astronomy and astrology in both Hurrian and Hittite societies. Just like in Mesopotamia, the movements of celestial bodies were believed to hold great significance, and both cultures developed intricate systems for observing and interpreting these celestial events. This shared focus on astronomy and astrology further supports the idea of a connection between these ancient civilizations and the Anunnaki. Overall, the potential influence of the Anunnaki can be traced in various aspects of Hurrian and Hittite culture, hinting at the possibility that the knowledge and wisdom of these deities were shared across the ancient Near East. But while definitive proof remains elusive, the similarities between these civilizations and their connections to the Anunnaki continue to captivate scholars and researchers who seek to unravel the mysteries of our ancient past. The potential connection between the Hurrians, Hittites, and the Anunnaki is an enthralling subject, and the search for tangible evidence to support these theories is an ongoing endeavor for historians and archaeologists alike. The ancient sites, artifacts, and texts associated with these cultures offer valuable clues about their beliefs, practices, and possible interactions with the Anunnaki. One of the most compelling sources of evidence is the cuneiform tablets found in the ancient cities of the Hurrians and Hittites. These texts provide invaluable information about the religious beliefs, myths, and practices of these civilizations, offering insight into their possible connections with the Anunnaki. By studying these texts and comparing them with Mesopotamian myths and religious documents, researchers can identify parallels and shared themes that suggest a common cultural influence. Archaeological discoveries also offer valuable evidence about the potential connections between these ancient civilizations and the Anunnaki. For instance, excavations at Hittite and Hurrian sites have uncovered statues, reliefs, and other artistic depictions of gods and goddesses that closely resemble the Anunnaki deities of Mesopotamian mythology. These discoveries lend support to the theory that the religious beliefs and artistic styles of the Hurrians and Hittites were influenced by the Anunnaki. Recent advances in archaeological techniques and technologies, such as remote sensing and ground-penetrating radar, have also facilitated the discovery of previously unknown sites and artifacts. These new findings may provide further evidence of the connections between the Hurrians, Hittites, and the Anunnaki, shedding light on the complex web of cultural exchange that characterized the ancient Near East. As researchers continue to explore the wealth of information contained within ancient texts and archaeological remains, they also seek to establish connections between these civilizations and other cultures throughout the ancient world. This process of uncovering and analyzing the evidence is essential in developing a fuller understanding of the possible influence of the Anunnaki in these ancient societies and the broader context of human history. While it may be difficult to definitively prove the existence of the Anunnaki or their direct influence on the Hurrians and Hittites, the similarities between their respective mythologies and cultural practices provide a fascinating window into the ancient world and the interconnections between different societies. The pursuit of ancient knowledge, whether it is found in the legends of the Anunnaki or the historical records of the Hurrians and Hittites, reminds us of the enduring power of the human spirit to seek understanding and meaning in the world around us. As we continue to explore the mysteries of our ancient past and the countless civilizations that have shaped the course of human history, we are left with a sense of wonder and awe at the resilience and creativity of our ancestors. The stories of the Hurrians, Hittites, and the Anunnaki serve as a testament to the potential of human achievement and the enduring quest for knowledge and understanding that has defined our species since time immemorial. I hope you enjoyed our video today. Please drop any comments and ideas for future videos down below.
This channel is part of the History Hit network.
Romans themselves said about it to their dance.
Our world is filled with fascinating. As we continue.
Earth, a 4.5 billion-year-old planet, still evolving. As continents shift and clash, volcanoes erupt, and glaciers grow and recede, the Earth's crust is carved in numerous and fascinating ways, leaving a trail of geological mysteries behind. In this episode, an investigation into California's San Andreas Fault, the greatest fault line on Earth. 800 miles long, this ugly scar on the landscape has spawned earthquake after earthquake. But for now, it waits quietly, deep under our cities, building up stress to strike once again. The San Andreas Fault is one of the most dangerous geological features on Earth. California's greatest cities and millions of her citizens live in constant peril. Since records began, there have been 13 large earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault.
The water lines have ruptured. There is no water coming out of the fire hydrants.
And now, America's geologists, her rock detectives, are warning of a potential disaster.
The major damage has been done.
In the fall of 2008, more than 300 scientists calculated what a major earthquake would do to Southern California.
We've been conducting a special study of a magnitude 7.8 earthquake on the southern San Andreas Fault, large enough to potentially damage tall buildings. Fire will be very significant.
The definitive scientific report presented to politicians was codenamed Shakeout. It forecast thousands of deaths and billions of dollars of damage in the city of Los Angeles, which makes it crucial to investigate the most important question: when will the next big earthquake hit the San Andreas Fault? The latest preparations for disaster are the climax of an investigation that started more than 100 years ago. In the aftermath of the Great San Francisco earthquake of 1906. The earthquake struck on a Wednesday, just before dawn. The ground shook violently for 45 seconds, igniting fires that raged unchecked for the next 4 days. "28,000 buildings, a tenth of the entire city, were destroyed, and more than 3,000 people, 1 in every 100 of the population, were killed. With a magnitude of 7.8, it's in the top 20 of North America's strongest ever earthquakes. The scale of the Great San Francisco earthquake shocked the nation. But no one understood what had made the city shake. Native American myths explained earthquakes as shocks from a battle between warring spirits. Latter-day explorers couldn't understand the shocks that destroyed their mission buildings. One Spanish missionary wrote, "The earth shook around me from explosions under the ground." 300 years later, and science has still made little progress. Refugees in the ruins of San Francisco still blamed earthquakes on mysterious underground explosions. So, just 3 days after the earthquake, the state of California asked one of the world's most famous geologists, Andrew Lawson from California State University, to investigate what had destroyed the city. He and a team of 25 scientists began collecting damage evidence in the city and surrounding countryside. There were roads that had buckled, rail tracks that had twisted. The most startling evidence of all, that came near the town of Bolinas in Marin County, to the north of San Francisco. This picket fence had an 8-foot gap in the middle. Before the earthquake, it was a solid boundary fence dividing 2 fields. But when he recreated what had happened, Lawson realized that the land had jolted apart and torn the fence in 2. Plotting the evidence on a map around San Francisco revealed a surprising pattern. Because connecting the dots drew a straight line. And at every point, the Earth moved in the same way, on the coast to the north, inland to the south. This line of weakness was the culprit they were searching for. South of San Francisco, the suspect line ran underneath a lake, the Laguna de San Andreas. So now, the earthquake perpetrator at last had a name. Professor Lawson, who a decade earlier had identified cracks in the earth here as a harmless rift, now rechristened it the San Andreas Fault. In modern-day San Francisco, the buildings, the roads, and the railways have long since been repaired. But if you know where to look, evidence of the 1906 quake can still be found. Geologist Charlie Paul follows in the footsteps of Lawson's team, seeking signs of the havoc from 1906. He finds it on the cliffs at Muscle Rock, 12 miles south of San Francisco.
The cliff is not here by accident. There's a very good reason why this cliff is here. Half a mile or so of the shore face apparently fell off in the 1906 earthquake. And if you look down below us, there's a big rotated block that's near the present-day shoreline. And it is just inboard of the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault is about a quarter of a mile offshore here. And of course, that's one of the major crustal junctions on this side of North America.
That was a good attempt.
Modern computers can now trace
See, I
how
shot his
damage
knee there.
waves spread out across the city.
I understand now. I'm starting to
where
understand.
the quake originated along the San Andreas. It was offshore, about 2 miles out to sea from the Golden Gate Bridge. So, to continue tracking the fault, the investigation must head out to sea. Marine geologists use remote operating vehicles, mini-submarines, to map the seafloor.
What you'd see is subtle variations in the topography, or topography that would not naturally line up. So there might be a line on the ocean floor that is higher or lower on one side, and you can use various techniques to determine that this actually is a fault instead of some other process.
Running south across the seabed, the San Andreas finally runs out of ocean and hits the land. This broken line of rocks, stretching in from the sea, marks where the San Andreas hits land 12 miles south of San Francisco.
Hey, that was a good attempt. We're getting attempts. We're getting attempts.
And we're essentially standing on the San Andreas Fault right now. And if there was an earthquake, I don't know what would happen right here, but I wouldn't want to be here.
This Pacific coastline, where cliffs crumble slowly into the sea, is the boundary between two of the Earth's massive continental plates. Separated by the San Andreas Fault, two vast separate blocks of the Earth's crust lie directly alongside each other. Here, the continent of North America lies slightly on top of the adjacent section of crust which holds the Pacific Ocean. The join can be seen where these lower, darker rocks are overlaid by light-colored sedimentary rocks.
These rock types differ by more than 100 million years in age. Two rock bodies that are not similar in any way have been brought together.
The fault line was exposed to geologists when the cliffs collapsed here in the 1906 earthquake. But back then, nobody understood how and why the two different types of rock were next to each other. Until around 40 years ago, when the answer was finally revealed by the theory of plate tectonics. The theory showed that the Earth's crust consists of separate moving plates on which the oceans and continents sit. Around 200 million years ago, the heavy Pacific Ocean plate collided with North America and started sinking underneath the lighter continent. Professor of Geophysics Mark Zoback studies that process, called subduction, in his laboratory at Stanford University.
For many millions of years, prior to the existence of the San Andreas Fault, the Pacific plate was subducting beneath North America. The oceanic plate was diving down, and that process went on for, well over 100 million years. So a tremendous amount of activity was occurring.
As the unstoppable force of one plate met the immovable object of the other, they were forced to change direction.
About 20 million years ago, the plate motions were such that the Pacific plate had to start sliding north with respect to North America. And now, you know, the principal motion is this sliding process between the two plates. And 20 million years ago, the San Andreas Fault was born.
It was the moving plates that crushed different types of rock together, just as here at Muscle Rock. At last, the investigation knows what it is dealing with. The San Andreas Fault is 800 miles long, emerging from the seabed north of Point Arena in Northern California and running down to the Salton Sea in the south. The evidence is coming together. Clues from the 1906 earthquake, such as the picket fence that was torn apart, prove that the land was moving. Connecting the dots identifies the straight line of the San Andreas Fault. And Muscle Rock uncovers different plates of the Earth's crust on either side of the fault line. But investigators still need more information about how often the San Andreas has spawned earthquakes in the past. It might help them answer the all-important question: when will the San Andreas strike again? To discover when the San Andreas Fault will strike again, the investigation needs to know about ancient earthquakes that have struck along the fault line. But there's an immediate problem.
So here in California, it's a particular challenge, and some of the earliest written records were from the missions and from the early explorers, so only dating back into the 18th
Man, I think I'm
century
gonna order
here.
pizza, guys.
Other parts of the world, we have an earthquake
I'm gonna
history
do
going
that.
back millennia.
The investigation moves
do it.
350 miles south of San Francisco to a desert where the San Andreas may have been active for thousands of years.
I gotta do it now if we do it.
There's crucial
If I don't do it,
evidence
then I have no
about
pizza.
earthquakes
If I
from
do it, I
ancient
end up with
times.
pizza. I'm gonna get a pizza. I'm gonna do it.
This creek used to flow straight across the San Andreas Fault here, but several earthquakes formed a natural dam where the San Andreas Fault wedges up here in front of me. That created a small pond, and now we're looking at the dry sediments of that pond that record the history of earthquakes, and that tells us quite a great deal about the past behavior of the San Andreas Fault.
Some of the clues are so small that Hudnut's detective work gets him down and dusty among tiny cracks inside the fault.
Sometimes we can find out about the past behavior of the San Andreas Fault by looking at the tiniest details.
At the bottom of this small ancient pond, mud sediments collected above a fine line of pebbles. Then, an earthquake shifted the land upwards on one side of the vertical fault line.
So this layer was originally flat, and then, in a subsequent earthquake, it was broken like this along this tiny fracture strand of the San Andreas Fault.
But finding proof that this is the site of an ancient earthquake is only part of the story. Hudnut needs to know how long ago it happened. The bare rock layers are no help in dating his find, but just above the fracture line of the rocks, he has found the evidence he needs.
Here, a bush was burned by a prehistoric wildfire, and that remnant of carbon is why you see this black stain on the side of the trench wall.
The key to unlocking the age of the rocks is carbon-14, known as radiocarbon. Its molecular structure means that carbon-14 is a more unstable isotope than other forms of carbon. It's absorbed by growing plants, then radioactively decays at a known rate after the plant dies. So measuring carbon-14 in vegetation burned in a wildfire reveals how long ago those plants died and dates the rock in which the carbon is found.
And through this, we can reconstruct the evidence of the past earthquakes.
Radiocarbon dating has proved that earthquakes have been happening along the line of the San Andreas for thousands of years. The particular small earthquake investigated by Hudnut, for example, is around 3,500 years old. It happened at a time when the last woolly mammoths were dying out in North America. The investigation moves to an even more remote desert spot, the Carrizo Plain, 160 miles north of Los Angeles. Here lies a dried-up riverbed, which takes an unusual course. Coming down off the hills, the creek bed takes a sudden, sharp turn to its right. A few hundred feet later, it makes an equally odd 90-degree turn to the left.
I just ordered a meat mountain pizza.
The creek crossed the line of the San Andreas Fault,
6 types of
but
meat.
early geologists were mystified.
It's gonna be so epic.
Why did it bend in this way? The scientific pioneers were limited to studies on the ground. Nowadays, Hudnut has an advantage. He can take to the air.
The San Andreas Fault, where it cuts through the Carrizo Plain, it almost looks like a scar, and it was caused by repeated earthquakes in the past.
Along the long line of hills marking the course of the San Andreas, Hudnut spots the puzzling bends that he's seeking.
Oh, If we could swoop along the fault through here, that would be awesome. Oh, there's a great angle. See that right angle offset channel with the elbow in it right there? That's a classic one right there.
HUDNUT's aerial view of the creek bed shows that the river once flowed straight on across the fault. But little by little, a series of earthquakes along the San Andreas dragged the creek away from its original course. Recreating how the land had moved showed HUDNUT that the two parts of the creek had traveled more than 300 feet apart.
So if you imagine the North American plate is fixed and the Pacific plate is moving to the northwest, the Wallace Creek site records that offset because the channel is straight across the fault, but it's been offset through time.
Earlier investigators had already radiocarbon dated the land on each side of the fault here, revealing that it took 3,000 years to change the creek's position. So, knowing the distance and the time it took to do it, lets HUDNUT calculate the average speed with which the two land masses are moving past each other. 300 feet in 3,000 years. 1 foot per decade. Just over an inch a year. But this was never a steady, sliding, 1 inch a year movement. The reality was a series of sudden, small jumps whenever tension built up enough between the two moving plates to overcome friction between the rocks and rip the land apart with an earthquake. It's an important moment for the investigation. Knowing how fast the land is moving not only reveals the stress that's building up, but also the risk of an earthquake. The San Andreas Fault is giving up its secrets. Clues from a long dried-up pond reveal the site of ancient earthquakes. Carbon from a prehistoric fire provides the dates. And bends in a riverbed prove how fast the plates are moving along the San Andreas. But now the investigation has a new mystery to solve. If the land along the San Andreas is moving 1 inch every year, causing earthquakes, then why has one small town along the fault line never had any? The investigation has discovered how fast the land is stretching and straining along each side of the San Andreas
I gotta
Fault,
drive there to pick up.
which should help establish when that ever-increasing stress will snap the land apart in the next major earthquake.
I'm gonna be gone.
But there's a problem.
I might end stream.
One part of the fault line just doesn't fit the pattern.
Think about things in my life.
The small town of Hollister is unique along the San Andreas fault system. It's never had an earthquake, and the investigation is going to find out why.
I got a lot of stuff to do.
Hollister has a population of 37,000. And nothing here is quite the way it should be.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sign off.
There are plenty of clues suggesting that the land must be moving here. Sidewalks with cracks in, curbstones way out of line, and walls that are bent out of shape.
Walking through Hollister, we can't see anything.
Thank you for being here, Baron and Moonraker and everyone.
Straight line may have a jog in it.
Let's read somebody.
Every year it changes a little bit, and it's a progressive thing.
The clues add up to one clear conclusion.
Dogger?
Even without any earthquakes, the Earth in this town, in the heart of the San Andreas system, still slides imperceptibly slowly and effortlessly along.
In one sense, the damage that you see here associated with the creeping is clearly sort of under control. But as a geologist, if you start playing that out for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of years, the consequences of that become enormous.
For many years, the creeping ground that moved without earthquakes remained an unsolved mystery. But then, the investigation moved 100 miles south to another small community where the land also creeps along. The village of Parkfield has a population of just 37 people and a bridge which spans right across the San Andreas Fault. The bridge separates the Pacific Plate on one side from the North American Plate on the other. And the bridge railings have started to bend.
I'm right now on the Pacific Plate on the west side of the San Andreas Fault. And you know, the San Andreas comes off the flank of that hill,